What's going on, YouTube world and YouTube tribe? What the heck? Anyway, bringing you a review for Monday Night Raw, or Rollins, however you want to say it. Yeah, this was a for a better word. This was a better episode than last week's episode, last Friday's episode, I should say. But we start off with like a backstage promo style of a promo. Like it's leading into the first match, but it's basically a backstage style promo with Seth Rollins, Big E, and Kevin Owens. And but they start with Seth. They start with Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins starts by saying, "Welcome everyone to Monday Night Rollins." Where last week KO connived his way, into my title match at WWE Day One, but say tonight in a few moments, he revealed that KO will be battling Big E. The first match of the night would be a steel cage match. It would be Big E versus Kevin Owens inside of a steel cage, and he will be basically he will be enjoying the beat down of the two, because basically he's hoping that they basically get an injury that he could exploit at Day One. And then he basically said he will be the WWE champion. And then it goes on to Big E. Big E say he's been through hell and back to basically get and keep his WWE championship. But he said, but tonight is no. He said tonight is no different. They said it may be. He said it may be you, me, and Seth. He's when he said you, he talking to KO. That you, me, and Seth at Day One for my WWE championship, but tonight is me and you inside of a steel cage. And he said there's no easy way out, and he said basically said he was going to beat him up, and can you feel that, sucker? And then it was like weird after they Big E comes out, he basically comes out through his entrance, and you thought Kevin Owens was going to come out, but then it goes backstage to Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens cut his promo. I'm like, oh, that was kind of, it threw me off. I'm like, wait a minute, it cuts to him going to the ring, so I'm guessing that Kevin Owens don't cut the promo, but then he did, and he basically was saying that how Big E been lying on him for weeks and months, and that he's lying about he said Seth Rollins and him keep saying this is the WWE Championship is his title, and he said they both lying because the WWE Championship is my title. Big E just holding it from me, and I think he said in 26 days he will reclaim his WWE Championship, and basically that ain't no lie. He said that ain't no lie what he's going to do at Day One and what he's going to do tonight to Big E. So then Kevin Owens come out, and that's when we get the first match of the night, which is Big E versus Kevin Owens in the steel cage match. Seth Rollins also came to ringside, and this was a great match. This wasn't okay or decent. This was a great match and a great way to start off Monday Night Raw. Because this match it went the appropriate distance, and it had the appropriate feels to it, and you had the I think when Big E was trying to escape from the cage, I think Seth Rollins would then slam the cage door on the Big E at one point. But yeah, you had Seth Rollins interfering in the match, but he definitely was ringside present, and the match went good. I mean, it was good spots, good everything. What you expect of a steel cage match. But in the end, Big E would hit the big ending and escape the cage. I think he hit the big ending and escaped the cage, but I know that's how he won. He escaped the cage via the cage door, and basically was celebrating. But then he would get attacked by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins would attack and beat up Big E, and then he would do the same to Kevin Owens. But then Big E but then Big E would then get the upper hand, and he would beat up Seth Rollins. I think he hit the big ending on Seth Rollins, then he hit another one on Kevin Owens before it ended the segment, holding the championship. But then we cut to an ad break. When we come back from that ad break, we see that Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are still in the ring, and they still beat up. But you would think by now they would have got up from that beating that Big E gave them. But it turns out that another person came out to the ring, and that's why Big E, it was revealed that Big E too was down. Like that was the whole point of showing Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens first. Then they saw Big E, and he's also like laying there like hurt, and you're like, what happened? Like, you know, last time we saw Big E was standing tall, so who did what? And then they showed that the almighty Bobby Lashley came out basically during the ad break, and he decimated both Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Big E. And later on in the night, because I probably, if I don't say it now, I'll probably forget it. Later on in the night, they interviewed both him and MVP about why he did what he did, and they basically said that the reason why Bobby Lashley went out there and beat up all three men was because he felt jaded. He felt he was angered that WWE management and the competitors and Big E and them basically felt like they forgot about him and never tried to even include him in that matchup. You know, they never even tried to include him in the WWE Championship picture. So that's what happens when you disrespect Bobby Lashley by not even considering he was the previous champion. But then we would get the second match of the night, which is Nikki ASH versus Queen Zelina. The funny thing I want to say about this match too was they kind of messed up Zelina. As you go back and watch it, when she was when she did her entrance, she cut a promo, and when they said Zelina Vega, and they didn't call her. They made reference to it, but they was supposed to be calling her like Xavier Woods and Zelina supposed to be known as Queen Zelina and King Woods, and in the graphics they actually still call her Zelina Vega. But yeah, this match was an okay match. It was kind of hampered by the fact that I don't know what they're doing with Nikki. If they're trying to turn her heel or they trying to get rid of the superhero character by having her go through a series of losses, and is she going to go back to her previous character? I don't know what they doing with her, but I just don't understand the story they're trying to tell with them. But in the end, Queen Zelina would get the victory over Nikki, making her the winner. It was a backstage moment where I think it was in Nashville, Tennessee, and Rio was trying to cheer up Nikki, and there was a lady backstage, and they had to try to make it look awkward, but it was like you could tell she was looking at Nikki when she was talking. She was basically like, "Oh my God, you're my favorite. Can I get an autograph from you?" And Nikki, he realized, "See, there you go, Nikki." And Nikki like, "Yeah, sure, I get your autograph." And she was looking at Nikki. Then she looks at Nikki like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to him." And then you saw it was Jerry the King Lawler, and basically Jerry the King Lawler like, "Tough break out there, kid. You want an autograph to cheer you up." And Nikki like, "Right," and then she just walked away. And you got Rhea looking angrily at Nikki. I'm not Nikki, but at Jerry the King Lawler, and Jerry he's like, "What? It was it something that I said?" So at this point, then it transitions over to. Cause I think after that backstage promo, I'm trying to get my notes here. Yeah, it transitioned to the third match, and throughout the night they've been promoting it that it was going to be like a tag team tournament style to see who will become the number one contenders for Raw's Arcade Bro. and the tournament is actually, I guess it was created by Riddle, called Arcade Brolement. So this was the third match was the first round in the Arcade Brolement tournament, where it saw AJ Styles Omos versus the Street Profits. Um, this match was unique is because we know from the way how they've been booked Omos, they had to do so, it had to be some way somehow that the Street Profits had to win by neutralizing Omos, and they kind of sort of did it. They kind of always attacking AJ. That's like everybody's game plan is to always beat up AJ Styles, so it kind of gets boring seeing that every time we see somebody go up against AJ Styles and Omos, their game plan is to isolate AJ Styles from Omos. That's like everybody's game plan, but it never worked because Omos eventually get into the ring and take over. In this particular match, that's what still happens. But this time when Omos got tied in, from what I remember, this is how the match ended. Omos got tied in, or he tagged himself in. AJ Styles looked like he had the match won, and he was getting ready to go for the phenomenal forearm. But just as he was getting ready to do it, I think AJ Styles got all the way up on the rope, getting ready to jump off, and he felt the slap tagging himself in, and so instead of doing the phenomenal forearm, he just jumps off the rope and back down to his feet and looking at Omos like, "What are you doing?" And Omos said, I got this, I'm gonna finish it. So Omos, he goes to try to finish, but he gets distracted by Dawkins and then Montez Ford. So basically, he started beating him up on the outside of the ring. And Montez, who was the legal competitor, got back in the ring while he was busy beating up Dawkins, and AJ Styles yelling at him because he doesn't realize the count is getting close. So AJ Styles get out the ring. He's like, get in the ring, because you about to get counted out. And Omos like, what? Oh, and when he turns to try to get back in the ring, unfortunately, it's too late. The referee hits 10, and the Street Profits win. And the Street Profits win via count out. But this likely is going to be a breakup between Omos and AJ, or at least they showing the signs of dissension within the team. Because AJ was trying to tell Omos what he was doing, because we had this match won, but you tied yourself in. He said that's how he was explaining to him, this is how it works. You listen to me and you follow my lead, and we do it. You can't just go roll like that. But then Omos ain't hearing it. He just walks away from AJ, and AJ, like Omos, and Omos just not paying attention. So I guess they teasing some type of breakup. We get the fourth match of the night, which is Damian Priest in his open U.S. Challenge match, where the person who ends up accepting his challenge will be Robert Roode. So Dolph Ziggler is at ringside, and this was an okay match. I ain't gonna say it was bad. It was an okay match. I enjoyed it. I like the little Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, but I don't think we got a lot of that in this match. But I like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing they doing with Damian Priest. But Damian Priest will end up getting the victory here over Robert Roode. But he did get attacked after the match by Dolph Ziggler, who it looked like it might be. It looked like they trying to tease that it might be Dolph Ziggler next week who does the open challenge. So then we get the next match, which is Bianca Belair versus Doudrop. Now here comes my first little gripe about the night, because I think the match with AJ Styles, the tag team match with AJ Styles was the first count out of the night. We get to this match right here, Bianca Belair versus Doudrop will be the next one. This match was a good match, surprisingly a good match. I didn't expect them to make it this good because it's not a pay-per-view match, but it's actually a good match between Bianca Belair and Doudrop. Because Doudrop, they making her like, okay, she a powerhouse. Bianca Belair, so she could kind of give Bianca Belair her run for her money when it comes to power and out strengthening. And you did see Doudrop at a couple points get the upper hand on Bianca Belair, which made Doudrop look good, considering that Bianca Belair is a former women's champion. And at one point, a match ends with Bianca trying to get trying to set Doudrop for the kiss of death or the KOD, but she couldn't do it. Doudrop would get out of it, but she would walk up the ramp and just be like, not tonight. And this would be the second count out victory type match, which gave Bianca Belair the victory via count out. So then we get what was being teased throughout the night, the Miz TV promo with Edge as the special guest. Miz starts by welcoming everybody to Miz TV as he do. Then talks about why Marie's staying here and making fun of Nashville, Tennessee. But then he gets to what happened last week. Says he said what did he say about last week? Talks about last week with Edge and how he was shocked and confused. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. That Edge, the radar superstar, gave him a complimented him, and then he said that made him believe that Edge might be a shell of his former self, or maybe he's not. And then he introduces Edge. Edge comes out and basically tells him, I meant what I said last week. He was like, yeah, I meant what I said last week about you, and I still mean it today. He said, and I still mean him. And Miz mocks Edge by saying, "Oh, isn't that sweet?" And then he tells Edge that he thinks he lost his edge. He said the old Edge would have speared him out of his $9,000 shoes. And he said, this Edge still could get around and basically wrestles in the ring and compete. He still could get around and do all that good stuff. But he said, but mentally you sound weak. And then Edge then responds by telling him he said, first of all, you paying $9,000 for those ugly ass shoes. He said, I don't know, man. My Jordan 3s look way cooler, and I didn't even realize that that's what he did. He had on some Jordan 3s, and then he tells me it's not to mistake his kindness for weakness, and then tells him is he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what he tells me is I don't know what's going on here. It seems like you got it's clear you have a bigger issue. Bigger issues. What's the deal, man? Like, tell me what's going on. What's this all about? And the Miz says kindness. Kindness. He said, let's stick with kindness for a minute. And he said, when I could use your kindness back in 2006, when I first started in the business, when I was walking on eggshells. He said that's when he need his kindness, but he needed his kindness. He needed his kindness then. He said, what about when I was kicked out of the locker room? And he said, well, I was kicked out of the locker room for eating the chicken. Maybe he said that's when I needed your kindness. But he said I don't. He said but you wasn't there. You wasn't there to give me your kindness. So he said I don't want it or need it. Your kindness now. And what Miz was referring to back in 2006 is that's where Miz actually got his he was on Tough Enough. That came from Tough Enough to WWE. Basically this was like, at least for me, this is when I started to pay attention to. This is might have been the first time I actually started paying attention to the real life, what's going on backstage thing. And basically what Miz is referred to in real life, the Miz was having backstage problems. I think people basically was you could keen into like being hazed, like maybe he was getting hazed or whatnot. But they basically like they did him wrong. Like I want to say they was messing with him, and I remember this situation where they basically told him I remember the situation where they said he ate a piece of chicken or something, and he was kicked out. He was out of the locker room, like he was kicked out with his gear and everything that was. They just kicked him out and put all his stuff out of the locker room, and he was basically being almost akin to being bullied almost, and and it was just some other stuff that was going on, but that was like what the Miz is referring to here in his promo about the real life situation that was going on with him back in 2006. And as he tells him, "I told you're gonna paint that, so you're gonna paint that brush on me, huh? You're glaring over some facts here though that you said where was I with my kindness." He said, "I was one of the people who grabbed you, took you to the side, and said, you do got that ick factor. You do have that, I think I forgot too." And Miz also accused Edge of protecting his spot. He was saying that's why people. He said, when everything went down in 2006. He was saying that was just because people saw this up and comer and they wanted to protect their spot instead of embracing him and helping him. They wanted to protect their spot, and he accused Edge of doing the same thing. And this is where Edge made that reference here. He said, "I was one of the people who took you to the side to say that you do got that it factor. You do got what it takes to just ride this out, and I promise you're gonna find your way, into the stardom and all that type of stuff." But he said, and Miz was like. Miz basically like, all right, whatever. I think you did say something like that. But then he was like, but do you remember what you did? He said, "You brushed me off." He said, and then he said basically if somebody would have did that to him, gave him some advice, because he said like 7 years, 7 years before that, I went through the same thing. And if somebody would have gave me the advice like I was trying to give you, you damn sure I would have listened, because he said the difference between me and you, I wasn't coming in here. I'm not coming here thinking I was the biggest star and I was better than everybody in the locker room like you did. He said, and then he tells Miz, you need to go tonight, go home and look yourself in the mirror and basically look yourself in the mirror, and your mirror reflection is going to tell you the same thing that your mirror reflection would have told you in 2006. Miz, you're an ass. And then the Miz basically gets up, because he gets upset by that, and he basically tells Edge, he basically charges Edge to a match at day one, saying there's no better way to start off the year of 2022, the year of the Miz, by beating him at day one. And Edge accepts the challenge, but then tries to go him into fighting right now, saying that that's day one. Right now, we're in Tennessee. It's nothing between us but air and opportunity. So what you want to do? And the Miz basically says no, and he said no, and he said it's not because of what y'all thinking that I'm afraid of Edge or whatnot. And during his promo talking about not being afraid of Edge, Edge like goes like this to him, and the Miz like boom, he falls, and he was like, and Edge is just like, "Oh, not afraid, huh?" And then just walks away. Then we'll get the next match, which is Rey Mysterio, which is the next match in the arcade Brawlament tournament, which is Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus the Alpha Academy. This match was a good match. I enjoyed this match. It was I thoroughly enjoyed it. I always enjoy Rey Mysterio, and Chad Gable always could put on a good performance. But in the end, your boy Rey and Dominic got the win, and I think Riddle made a reference to it earlier in the day that he wanted that you face Dominic and Rey Mysterio. He wanted them to, like, if he had to choose somebody to win the tournament, he wanted them to win it. And now Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio one step closer, because I think next week it will be the Street Profits versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio, and the winners would get a check, and whoever wins between them would be the number one contenders for that match, for Arcade Bro. Then we would get the next match, which is Finn Balor versus T-Bar. I hate to see Finn Balor get relegated to wrestling in T-Bar, but Finn still managed to put on a decent match, and hopefully they give Finn Balor something to do, put him back in the championship picture. Get him to keep him relevant as a championship contender. It's, instead of just having him like face people like T-Bar. But either way, the match was still a good match, and Finn Balor ended up winning that match. Then we will get to the main event, which is Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. And basically, this was Liv Morgan's first singles championship match, which was for the Raw Women's Championship. And you can see like she basically was telling the story that she got the biggest butterflies in her stomach. She's getting emotional. She's basically like how Bianca Belair. She started doing like how Bianca Belair was doing at WrestleMania when she was at WrestleMania, and she started to cry and tear up because of the big moment in her career. And basically, Liv Morgan was doing the same. And then the match got underway, and this was another good match. They started the show good, then they ended the show good. This was a good match. Well, I would say up until a certain point, but this was a good match. They went back and forth. They really showed that Liv, at certain points that you thought Liv. At certain point, you know how they usually book Liv, you thought this was like it for Liv, but she was able to reverse stuff, get out of stuff. And she was starting to really take Becky Lynch to her limit, but in the end, Becky Lynch would cheat to get the victory, where she would reverse Liv Morgan's roll up, just like basically the same thing. It was like basically what happened at Survivor Series with Charlotte Flair, how Charlotte Flair rolled her up and tried to get the ropes to use it. She would do that, only set Liv Morgan in and try to get the ropes. Liv Morgan would roll her up and try to get the pin, but Becky would kick out at 2 and reverse the roll up into her own roll up. And once again, the referee being out of position, he's counting the 1, the 2, and once he get the 2, you see Becky go like this, and when she see that he got the 2, she grabs the ropes to keep Liv down and gets the 3 count, and basically that's how they end the match. I'm just like, no, why end it like that? Unless that you're going to get this is not over for Liv Morgan. Why would you end it like that? I rather for Liv Morgan had got pinned or submitted, or vice versa. Shock the world about to give Liv the victory and make her the new champion, but you didn't. But then you chose this way, and so hopefully this is a build up to a more fuse with Liv Morgan. Maybe Liv Morgan will get a championship rematch at day 1. Who knows? But yeah, that's it. That was the end of the show. Looking back, going through all this, if I were to give this episode of Raw anything, I actually would give it 8 big ups, just because it was very decent. Like the matches was decent, the storytelling was decent. I think the Nikki versus Queen Zelina match was the only match I didn't really care for. I'm trying to see. Yeah, that was the only match I really didn't care for. I was gonna say the Finn Balor one was the other one, but then I'm like, I actually did care for that match. So yeah, so it was just the Nikki versus Queen Zelina, just because I don't know it wasn't that entertaining. It was quick, and I didn't realize what story they trying to tell with Nikki, But let me know in the comments what you thought of that episode of Monday Night Raw, and if you enjoyed Monday Night Raw, let me know that too as well. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed these reviews for WWE, then hit that button right there in the upper right corner for all of my WWE reviews. And if you enjoyed this video so much you want to support the channel, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop videos. And as always, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. But don't go nowhere. I got the review for, I don't know if I'm gonna do Halloween Kills sometime this week, but I'm gonna have that review for the Flash coming at you along with some gameplay. So stick around and peace.